What if the real work isn't building the business? What if the real work is building the woman who is building the business? I want you to sit with that for just a second because I think a lot of us have been sold a lie. We've been taught that growth is about tactics, better systems, better marketing, better leadership, better strategy, right? And while all those things matter, I have noticed something over and over again, my life and the life of the women I work with. The business rarely outgrows the woman. The woman either expands to meet that vision or she doesn't. And today I want to talk about the woman behind the growth. The version of you that nobody sees. The version of you that is being shaped while everybody else is just focusing on the results. See, a few years ago, I thought that growth was mostly external, right? I needed more revenue, better opportunities, more systems, more getting on more stages to speak, being more visible, more people knowing me, having more of an impact. But every time I reached a new level, I discovered something unexpected. That external growth was actually the easy part. The more difficult part was becoming the person who was capable of holding it. Because growth reveals who you are. It exposes your fears. It exposes your insecurities, your limiting beliefs, and every place where your identity hasn't caught up to your ambition yet. That's why I believe something that I have been talking about a lot lately. Identity precedes expansion, not the other way around. The expansion isn't what changes you, it's who you are, your identity, allowing it to step up into that next level. See, one thing I have noticed about high achieving women is that we are incredibly good at adaptation. We become who the situation requires, right? Have you noticed that about yourself? We were the good student, the responsible daughter, the successful doctor, the practice owner, the entrepreneur, the CEO, the leader, the caregiver, the wife, the mother. You get what I'm going with that. Eventually, something interesting happens. The identities that once helped us succeed, they become the ones where we remain stuck. Because the version of you that got you here isn't the one that's going to take you to that next level. That's the difficult truth. Why? Because we become attached to that identity. We become attached to being the expert, the achiever, the fixer, the one who always knows what she's doing. But growth often requires letting go of the identities that we have held on to for decades. That's uncomfortable, let's face it, because if you're not a dentist, who are you, right? That's what I have struggled with. It's been one of the biggest shifts that I have had to focus on working through. And expansion can be lonely, not because you're alone, but because you are changing. And when you're changing, the people around you don't always understand what you are experiencing. You start to question things that once felt so certain. You become interested in different sorts of conversations, different possibilities. Your priorities become different. And you start fitting into boxes that once they just weren't who you were or what you wanted. I don't fully belong to the old version of myself, right? You're in that in-between stage. And that in-between space, gosh, is it incredibly lonely. Because you are in the hallway between who you have been and who you're becoming. And what most people try to do is they try to rush through that hallway. Personally, I think that's where the deepest growth happens. That hallway, honestly, is where I am too right now. Which is why this one hits hard. Because, see, many women have built lives that look successful from the outside. The business is working, the practice is thriving, the income is there, the achievements are there. The credentials are there. We have one more certificate that goes on the wall, and yet something feels off. And not because something is wrong. There's nothing wrong. It's just that you have evolved. You've leveled up. And that old life doesn't quite fit anymore. Sometimes we mistake that for burnout. Sometimes we even call it boredom, or a lack of motivation. A lot of times it's just evolution because you've just become bigger than the container in which you were living. And your soul knows it before you ever do. Here is something I am learning from my own expansion journey. The real growth metric is not revenue, although everybody wants us to believe that. It's capacity. Can you hold uncertainty? Can you make decisions without constant validation? Can you trust yourself even when the outcome isn't guaranteed? Can you stay grounded when things get bigger? Can you remain yourself while you're becoming more? Because that next level, it's not asking you to be more. It's asking you to hold more. More responsibility, more visibility, more impact, more complexity, more possibility. All of that requires a different level of self-trust, just the belief in yourself. It's more like me saying, I got me, right? And if I'm being completely transparent, like I said, this is the season I'm walking through too right now, a season of letting go, a season of questioning, a season of big growth. And I don't mean expansion in the business sense, although yes, the practice is thriving, but expansion in the identity sense, learning that certainty is overrated sometimes, that I don't always need an answer before I take the next step, learning that growth doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it's scary, and sometimes it's like grief, because every new version of me needs me to let go of that old version. See, we celebrate the becoming, but we hardly ever honor who we are letting go. So if you are in a season where things feel uncertain, if you're questioning who you're becoming, if you're feeling that tension between your old identity and your future one, I want you to know this. Nothing has gone wrong. Nothing. You are not lost. You are expanding. And maybe the real work right now is not building the business. Maybe it is building the woman who can hold everything she is earning, like dreaming of, yearning of, wanting. The woman you're becoming, she is the greatest asset you will ever build. Until next time, keep growing, keep questioning, and keep becoming. Because this isn't just the making of a business. It's the making of her. I'll see you tomorrow.